So today's vlog is gonna be assembling a road bike for a customer, and we're gonna get it in ready to ride condition.
I'm gonna be assembling this road bike. I have all the parts in the box and putting it back together, tuning the bike and getting it ride ready. I have all the bicycle components all labeled. Before I disassemble the bike, I labeled everything. You have the bottom brackets, rear derailleur, chain, spacers, handlebars, and brake calipers. We also have the crank, seat post. The customer wants to upgrade to new seat handlebars and new Ultegra brake set. So let's get it back to its original condition. Okay, so right now I'm tightening the external bottom bracket. I'm trying to go as slow as possible. I don't want to strip the thread. What I'm using is called external bottom bracket remover, I think. Okay, so you want to go slow. Okay, we have successfully installed the bottom brackets. So now we're gonna go ahead and install the crank arms. Okay, so for the crank installation, you simply, this is the hollow bottom bracket. You simply install the spindle into the bottom bracket, and I have installed these temporary plastic pedals to get some leverage. On the other side, once you have installed the left crank arm, this is called, I think it's called self-extracting crank arm. You simply tighten the crank arm, and as it is tightening, it is gonna pull back the chain ring, and you just simply tighten it. Okay, I have successfully installed the cranks, and this is the way it should look. You shouldn't see a space between the bottom bracket and the crank arm. It should all be covered. And this is just the beauty of these type of cranks. You don't need anything. You don't need fancy tools, or there are not many bolts around it. It's just I think an 7 or 8 millimeter Allen key, if I'm not mistaken. The same thing when you're trying to remove the crank arm. It is a self-extracting, so you don't need like a crank puller or anything like that. So it is nice and smooth, not loose. That is good enough. Okay, so now we have the rear derailleur and the front derailleur. We're gonna be installing the rear derailleur over here. The front derailleur goes over here. So this is the derailleur hanger. This goes into this section right here, and it's pretty easy to install. After we have installed all of these two components, we're gonna be installing the chain, and we're gonna be building the bike as we go. Okay, so the rear derailleur and the front derailleur have been successfully installed. I think I'm gonna be installing the chain. I'm gonna be leaving that for last, just so that it's not banging or hitting the frame. Okay, so next I'm gonna be installing the fork, but before that I'm gonna be installing the bearings and the spacers. And this is a very easy setup because these bearings, they are sealed, so you cannot open them, you cannot service them. So once they're gone, and you have to replace them with some new ones. But we're gonna be using the same ones because they're in good shape. And it's just a matter of installing the spacers and bearings. As you can see, I put a cable tie, and I'm just gonna go ahead and install into the forks. Okay, like I said, this is a very easy installation. I have the bearings and the spacers in order, so I'm gonna see if I can install everything with one hand, so I'm holding my camera. Okay, so this is the bottom bearing. This is the top bearing. Okay, so that's it. It's just a matter of pressing this all the way down so that the fork will raise up, and it's gonna stay like that. Okay, success. The fork flows freely. We next install the spacers, then our stem and handlebars, and that's it. So next step, I'm gonna be installing the stem, and as you can see space between the steerer tube and the stem itself. That's because the stem is a wider width than the steerer tube. So I'm gonna be installing this spacer to fill in the extra gap or space, and that should do the trick. Now I'm gonna be installing the brake set, and one way that you can tell which one goes on the back and which one goes on the fork is by looking at the tube right here. So since this one is longer, this one would go onto the fork, and the shorter one will go on the back side. Okay, so the short one goes on the rear side, and the longer one goes on the forks, because you can actually see that the fork is wider. Okay, just a quick update. I have installed the chain already, and now I'm gonna be installing the wheel set with a 10-speed cassette for a total of 20 speeds. Okay, and now we have a working drivetrain. Then next we're going to be tuning the derailleurs once we have the cables installed. Okay, quick update. I have successfully assembled the bicycle. It is just a matter of installing the cables and the handlebar tape The handlebar installation, the handlebar tape installation is pretty easy. The tricky part is going to be installing the cables, the cable housings, because they actually have to go through the frame. They have to go literally inside the down tooth, the top tooth, and through the chainstay, as well as through the handlebars. So that's actually gonna be kind of difficult. So I want to see if I can use the same cables. If not, I'm gonna be using new cables. After I finish installing the cables, I'm gonna tune the bicycle, tune the brakes, the railers, and after that, the last step is gonna be installing the handlebar tape, because we don't want to get that dirty. And after that, the bicycle should be ready to ride. And if I don't finish by today, I'm gonna be making another video for tomorrow. Okay, YouTube, this is the second day of working on this bicycle, and today I'm just gonna be installing the brakes. Today I'm gonna be installing the cables and the handlebar tape, and after that tuning the bicycle, and it should be ready to ride. So I'm gonna be inserting the cables through this little hole, coming through here, and so on. The bicycle is ready, all assembled, tuned up, and now it's basically ready to ride.